The financial ceiling you didn't know you accepted. Most people don't feel like they're failing financially. They feel busy, responsible, slightly stressed, but functional. The paycheck arrives. The bills get paid. Life keeps moving. From the outside, everything looks fine. But here's the uncomfortable question most people never stop to ask. If you're doing okay, why does it still feel like you're stuck? Why does earning more not seem to create the freedom you expected? Why does progress feel slower the longer you work? For many people, the problem isn't effort, intelligence, or discipline. It's something far quieter. At some point, usually without realizing it, you accepted a financial ceiling. Not because someone forced it on you, but because it felt reasonable at the time. And once that ceiling is in place, everything you do happens underneath it. For most people, the financial ceiling doesn't feel like a problem at all. It feels like stability. You have a job, you earn a predictable income, your bills are paid on time. Life doesn't feel easy, but it feels manageable. From the outside, everything looks responsible and under control. And because nothing is obviously broken, there's no clear reason to question the direction you're moving in. This is where the real issue begins. In the US and the UK, many working professionals are not struggling in an obvious way. They're functioning, they're busy, they're dependable, income may even increase over time. But despite all that effort, flexibility doesn't improve, time still feels tight, taking a break feels risky, changing direction feels like something you can't afford to do. That quiet tension is often the first sign of a ceiling. The problem isn't that people aren't progressing, it's that their progress is confined. Career choices start being made for security instead of growth. Financial decisions focus on avoiding discomfort rather than creating options. Income rises, but so do fixed costs. Responsibilities stack up. Life becomes more expensive to maintain, not easier to control. What makes this so hard to notice is that everything still works. There's no dramatic failure forcing reflection. You're not falling behind in a visible way. You're simply maintaining a system that requires constant effort to stay in place. Over time, this creates a subtle trap. The more stable life looks, the harder it feels to question it. And without realizing it, many people accept a financial ceiling defined not by their potential, but by what feels safe enough to protect. That's why recognizing the problem early matters. Because once the ceiling feels normal, raising it later becomes far more difficult than it ever needed to be. The reason most people accept a financial ceiling without realizing it has very little to do with intelligence or ambition. It has far more to do with how safety, success, and responsibility are taught and rewarded over time. From an early age, financial progress is framed around avoiding mistakes. Get a stable job, pay your bills, don't fall behind. As long as nothing goes wrong, you're considered on track. This trains people to associate success with predictability rather than possibility. Security becomes the goal, not positioning. Once adulthood brings real responsibilities, that mindset hardens. Predictable income feels like protection. Familiar routines reduce anxiety, even if the situation isn't ideal. It's known, and the brain strongly prefers what is known over what is uncertain. Especially when there's something to lose. So people make choices that preserve comfort, even when those choices quietly limit growth. Another root cause is how effort is rewarded. Most careers pay for consistency and availability, not leverage. Show up, perform reliably, and income continues. Promotions increase pay, but they rarely change the underlying rule. Stop showing up, and the money stops too. Over time, people learn to equate effort with safety, without questioning what that effort is actually building. There's also a social layer. Playing it safe is praised. Stability looks mature. Questioning a secure path can look reckless, even when it's thoughtful. So people internalize the idea that expanding cautiously is responsible, while aiming higher is risky. The ceiling forms quietly through repetition. Small decisions made to reduce discomfort today slowly harden into structure. And by the time the cost becomes visible, staying inside the ceiling feels safer than challenging it. Breaking through a financial ceiling doesn't start with dramatic moves or radical risk. It starts with changing how decisions are evaluated while life still feels stable. Most people ask, will this choice keep me safe right now? A more powerful question is, does this choice expand or shrink my options over time? That shift alone changes how money, career, and effort are used. Safety stops being about predictability and starts being about adaptability. The first practical step is using income more intentionally. Income is not proof of progress, it's raw material. When every raise is immediately absorbed into lifestyle upgrades, the ceiling simply rises with you. But when even small surplus is directed toward reducing future dependence, through skill building, investing, or lowering fixed costs, pressure begins to ease before income changes again. Another important adjustment is separating activity from progress. Being busy feels productive, but busyness often maintains the present instead of improving the future. Real progress usually looks quieter. Skills that compound, systems that don't reset every month, assets that grow without constant attention. These choices rarely feel exciting, which is why they're overlooked. Raising the ceiling also requires slowing down expansion, not rejecting comfort entirely, but creating a delay between earning more and needing more. That delay creates breathing room. It lowers the cost of change. It makes future decisions lighter instead of heavier. This approach doesn't mean abandoning stability. In fact, stability becomes an advantage when paired with awareness. A steady job can fund long-term positioning if it's used deliberately instead of passively consumed. The goal isn't to move faster. It's to move with direction. At first, this phase often feels uncomfortable. Progress looks slower. Validation disappears. But beneath that discomfort, the ceiling begins to lift, quietly, steadily, and sustainably. The most dangerous thing about a financial ceiling is not that it blocks you immediately. It's that it feels invisible for a long time. In the short term, life looks fine. Income arrives. Bills get paid. You stay busy, responsible, and functional. From the outside, there's no obvious reason to worry. And that's exactly why so many people stay where they're for years. Sometimes decades. But over time, the cost of staying safe begins to compound. When a financial ceiling goes unchallenged, flexibility slowly disappears. More income becomes pre-committed to fixed expenses. More time is locked into routines that can't easily be adjusted. Career paths narrow, not because of failure, but because the cost of change keeps rising. Each year makes stepping back, retraining, or pivoting feel heavier than the last. This is how many people end up earning more than ever, yet feeling more constrained than before. Not trapped by debt or disaster, but by structure. Life depends on everything continuing exactly as it is. Any disruption, a job change, health issue, or unexpected responsibility feels threatening because there's little margin to absorb it. By contrast, when the ceiling is raised intentionally, the long-term experience looks very different. Progress often feels slower at first. There are fewer visible wins and less external validation. But pressure compounds in the opposite direction. Skills deepen, assets grow quietly, income becomes less fragile, time begins to feel more controllable. This is where discipline matters more than intensity. Financial freedom isn't built through bold moments. It's built through consistent, unglamorous decisions repeated long enough to change the structure of life. Decisions that preserve flexibility instead of trading it away for short-term comfort. In the long run, the real difference isn't how much you earn. It's how dependent your future is on everything staying the same. And that's the cost, or the reward, that only shows up with time. The hardest part about a financial ceiling isn't breaking through it. It's realizing you've been living under one in the first place. Most people don't feel like they've made bad decisions. They've been careful, responsible, consistent. They did what seemed sensible at every stage. And that's exactly why this ceiling is so easy to accept. It doesn't announce itself as a limit. It shows up as routine, as normal, as, this is just how life works now. But the truth is, financial ceilings aren't imposed once. They're accepted gradually, through choices that feel safe, through paths that feel reasonable, through comfort that quietly becomes constraint. The good news is this: noticing the ceiling is already the beginning of moving it. You don't need to quit your job, take reckless risks, or have everything figured out. Change doesn't start with bold action. It starts with awareness, with questioning whether your effort is expanding your options or just maintaining a structure that requires constant energy to survive. Progress, in real life, rarely feels dramatic. It often feels slower, less reassuring, and less impressive than staying busy. But over time, it creates something far more valuable than short-term comfort: flexibility, breathing room, the ability to choose without panic. Financial freedom isn't about escaping work or chasing an ideal number. It's about reducing how fragile your life feels as time passes. It's about building a future that doesn't depend entirely on everything continuing exactly as it is today. So here's the question to sit with as you move forward. Do you feel like your current financial path is raising your ceiling, or quietly reinforcing it? And if you're honest with yourself, what's one decision you've been calling safe that might actually be limiting your future more than you realized? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's often where awareness turns into clarity, and where real change quietly begins.